morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, I'm going to do a video which is going to drive me absolutely crazy. I'm going to rank all of the VMAXs. I did this before, and that video has become really popular on this channel. But last time I did it, there were 12, and now there are 66. Now, I will say, this does not include Fusion Strike, and the only reason it doesn't include Fusion Strike is because as I'm recording this, the set's not out. We know the VMAXs that are in there, but we also don't know exactly how good they're going to be over here. It wouldn't be right to put them on the list right now. Few other little caveats here. I am judging this based on how good they've been and how good I could see them being in the future. It's not just results, it's also looking forward a little bit. And because there are 66 of them and many of them are so close, do bear in mind, there's going to be a big difference between number 15 and number 40, but there's not going to be a big difference between 15 and 18, and you can switch them around as you like, though I have put them into tiers, and the tiers, as far as I'm concerned, are far more important. So starting off then, in at number 66, we've got MEOWTH VMAX, and this was actually the very first one ever released, and it's all uphill from there. 4 energy, 200 draw free cards, too much energy, doesn't one-hit KO Pokemon V. I like drawing cards, but it's not good enough. In at 65, we've got Morpeko, and Morpeko 180 damage for free energy and 20 to 2 of your opponent's bench. It doesn't do enough damage, it doesn't one-hit KO Pokemon Vs, it's only got 300 HP, it's got a bad weakness, it's not good. In at number 64, we've got Stonjourner. Yes, a lot of the early ones were not good, and I like Stonjourner personally, but free energy 200, it's hard to accelerate the energy. And again, you're not one-hit KOing Pokemon Vs. If you're not hitting 220 damage reliably, you are not getting high up on this list. In at 63, we've got Metagross. And the thing about Metagross is that it just never actually gets particularly good. It lets you search for cards, but your opponent can disrupt your hand, and it can do 250 a turn, but only after doing 100 the previous turn, which means it's way too slow to get going. DRACOZOLT comes in at 62. It's another card which is frankly entirely unimpressive. And, 4 energy, 200. Too much energy, not enough damage. And sure, Spark Trap is interesting in that you place damage counters if they attack you, but it's far too easily played around to put it high on the list. In at number 61, we've got ourselves Sizzle, and Sizzle's another one that doesn't look horrendous on the face of it. There's just nothing good about it. Free energy, 190, we've talked about that's not enough, and 90 damage, reduced damage by 20 next turn. It's just too little damage, too little survivability, and nothing special about it. In at number 60, we've got Sandaconda, and I know that Sandaconda had some early success, but that was Pokemon V before we had a VMAX. The fact of the matter is, free energy 180 is not good enough. Sure, you can move energy around, but you're not doing enough to begin with. And then 60 plus 20 to each of your opponent's bench. I like that it's single energy, but it's just way too weak for the format we're in. In at 59, we've got ourselves COPPERAJAH, another one that I got pretty excited about and thought it might end up being good, and another one that I was proven well and truly wrong about, and that makes me genuinely sad. What we've got here is a decently bulky Pokemon. 340 HP is in line with the highest we've seen. And sure, 4 energy, 240. 240 is good, but 4 energy is horrendous. And then free energy, 100 damage, 200 against a basic, but you need to be doing 220. This one you could easily argue should be higher on the list, but I feel alright with it down here. In at 58, we've got ourselves Grimmsnarl, and Grimmsnarl's one of those that's just far too expensive. Sure, you can do 320 damage, but you've got to get 6 energy on there, and in a world without great energy acceleration for darkness, it's never going to be good enough. DREDNAW comes in at number 57, and DREDNAW's another one of these where there's just nothing really going for it. There's nothing to really hang your head on here. It reduces damage done to it, which I suppose is fine, and then free energy, it does 240, but only on a coin flip. I don't want to be flipping coins here, and I'm afraid that for me puts it out. In at 56, we've got ourselves FLAPPLE, and I want FLAPPLE to be good, ladies and gentlemen. But the fact of the matter is, sure, it does 250 for free energy, but as soon as you start taking damage, it goes down to the point it's useless. In at 55, we've got Gyarados, and Gyarados is another one of those. You know, it can do 240, which is a good number, but 4 energy, nah. Even with the energy acceleration we've got, 4 energy is just too expensive. And in at number 54, we've got CELEBI. And CELEBI is another one of those that is an interesting card, and it almost made it out of this tier. Apologies to Joe. And I do like the ability that heals your grass Pokemon, but you're leaving a weak evolving free prize Pokemon on your bench just to heal a little bit here and there. It's not good enough, ladies and gentlemen. I am sorry. Now, the next two we're moving up into here is interesting. These are ones that haven't really proven to be particularly good, but you never know, they might be interesting one day. So in at number 53, we've got ourselves Toxtricity, free energy, and you do 240 if your opponent's active is poisoned. It's a good number to hit, but the requirement for poison is annoying. In at 52, we've got ourselves Galarian Slowking. And this is, like all of the ones in this tier, interesting, but I don't think good enough in the end. For 2 energy, you do 10 damage and then 12 damage counters for poison between turns. It takes too long to add up to the KOs you need. In at 51, we've got Charizard. This is one I got very excited about initially, because it was really good against Zacian. But in the end, what we're really left with is 5 energy, 300. 300 is enough to get it into this tier because it's interesting, but the 5 energy is way too much. In at number 50, we've got Malamar, and this is another one I got very excited about when it was revealed. I thought there was a huge amount of potential, because free energy, 180, and you get to take a card out of your opponent's hand. We did see some love for this at one of the Players' Cups that we streamed, but I don't think it ever really proved itself. Feel free to disagree. In at number 9, we've got CINDERACE, another one which did actually prove itself a little bit at some of these tournaments. But the fact of the matter is, there's nothing about it which is good enough. Free energy, 170 and burn is fine. 2 energy, 30 plus as much as you took last turn is interesting because you can heal and still do the extra, but it's too awkward to get going compared to some of the other Pokemon we've seen. And just because it has been good in the past at some brief point, doesn't mean that it's going to find its way out of the interesting tier. In at 48, we've got Gardevoir. This is one that saw a bit of play over in Japan when it was initially released. Free energy, 180, heal 50 is fine, but the fact of the matter is most Pokemon are 2-hit KOing you, the VMAXs, even if you're healing the 50, so it ends up being largely irrelevant. In at number 47, we've got Tornadus. This is another one I am personally a very big fan of. I love that you do 240 if there's a stadium in play, but as we're seeing as a bit of a theme for these Pokemon, having 4 energy on there is too expensive, especially when you compare them to the top tier VMAXs we'll get to in a bit. In at 46, we've got Butterfree, that I honestly thought was going to be a lot further down this list. Fact of the matter is, we've got some grass energy acceleration and 150 plus confusion plus poison. That is interesting enough to make me put it here. In at number 45, we've got ourselves Surfing Pikachu. And this is one of the 2 newest on the list. And free energy 160 plus 30 to each of your opponent's bench. I like the spread, but I also like that it's a lightning Pokemon that attacks for water energy, gives it a lot more utility. And in at 44, we've got its running mate, Flying Pikachu VMAX. Free energy, 160, and next turn you're immune to basic Pokemon. We don't see enough basic Pokemon at the moment to make this worth it, but I do think this is interesting and worth playing around with in the future. In at number 3, we've got Tapu Koko. This is another one that has seen some play here or there. A lot of the ones from here on in have. But the fact of the matter is, free energy 180 is not enough. And sure, if you're behind in the game, automatic paralysis. But if you're not, you're just doing 180 for free energy, which isn't good enough. In at 42, we've got Rillaboom. 4 energy, and you can discard 3 grass to put it up to 280. But 280 isn't good enough nowadays, and 4 energy is a lot. So even though we've got decent energy acceleration and you do have a pretty high damage cap, it's only interesting, it's not good. In at 41, we've got Delmise, and feel free to tell me this is one of the ones that I am overrating, because I like it personally. But the fact of the matter is, free energy 240, that's free energy, 1-hit KO on any Pokemon V, that alone gets it up there. Sure, you can pile energy on and snipe for huge damage, but it's really the free energy 240 that makes me excited. In at number 40, we've got Galarian Darmanitan, and this is another one of those that looks to have huge potential. Because water is a decent type right now in terms of getting energy on, and for 4 energy you do 200 plus 30 to each of your opponent's bench. But the combination of not getting a 1-hit KO on Pokemon V and the 4 energy, even with the acceleration, does hurt it. But you are still spreading decent damage, and we've got the energy acceleration, so keep an eye out. In at number 39, we've got Flareon, and I don't think Flareon's particularly good, but there's so much here that could be right under the correct circumstances. Free energy, 100 damage, discard the top 5 cards of your deck, and deal 100 damage for each energy card you discarded in this way. If you can find a way to get enough energy on top of your deck, this will 1-hit KO anything. That has got to be worth having a play around with. In at number 38, we've got Trevenant VMAX, and this is another one that with just 1 or 2 cards to help it, could be a real force. I'm not excited by the free energy 180, it's less than 220, you know the rule, but 2 energy and you deal 40 damage for each supporter card in your opponent's discard pile. So late in the game or against supporter heavy decks, this could actually deal really big damage for 2 energy, and that's enough to get me a little bit excited. In at number 37, we've got Salamence, and I adore Salamence. This is one of the ones I played around with a lot when it first came out, because for 1 energy you do 40 to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. I like the 240 KOing Pokemon V, I don't like the 4 energy, but I love the dropping 40 to 2 Pokemon for 1 energy, and it's always one I'm going to be keeping in mind. In at number 36, we've got LYCANROC, and this is another one that I really like on a personal level, and I keep teching into decks. Because for a single energy, you knock out your opponent's Pokemon in play with 60 HP or less remaining. No bench barrier, no gusting, nothing to worry about like that. Just a nice easy KO on a weak Pokemon, and that to me is always going to be something I'm playing around with in decks. And then ending this tier at number 35, we've got Garbodor. Sure, it can have 2 tools attached to it, but 2 energy, 120 plus poison, and they can't retreat. I've often said if you can't 1-hit KO, 2-hit KO with disruption, and this is very nice disruption on a pretty low energy Pokemon. So that pretty much brings us halfway, and the next tier we're getting into is definite potential or seen a whole bunch of play. So in at number 34, we've got ourselves Crobat. And I like Crobat because for 2 energy, 70 damage, switch to the bench plus poison. It's been used in some hit and run decks, but it fell off pretty quickly and it's not come back since. In at number 33, we've got Snorlax, and I love Snorlax. I've played a bunch of Snorlax. Free energy, and if you've got a full bench, you do 210. And that doesn't get all Pokemon V, but there's a big difference between 200 and 210, and it is colourless energy, and there's only 3 of them. The thing that only puts me off putting it higher here is the fact that it's been out for so long and it's not seen a huge amount of success. In at number 32, we've got Lapras, a rare early Pokemon VMAX that is good, although Snorlax was at the same time, to be fair. Free energy, 90 plus 30 more for each water energy attached to it. I've lost to Lapras decks, you guys probably have too. If you can accelerate enough energy, it's really good. In at number 31, we've got ourselves Venusaur, and 4 energy, 210 heal 30 is not good enough, but 2 energy, 30 damage for each grass attached to all of your Pokemon. If you can get enough grass energy on the field, this is a 2 energy attack that does good damage. And for that reason, I do think there's a lot of potential here. In at number 30, we got Blastoise VMAX. 4 energy is a lot, but it does 220 and 30 to 2 of your opponent's bench. And fine, we've seen other VMAXs that do better spreading, but this gets a one-hit KO on a Pokemon V in the active, and that makes all the difference. In at number 29, we've got Centiskorch, and I know that when Centiskorch came out, it was a top-tier deck that saw a huge amount of play, and I also know that since then it's dropped off dramatically. 2 energy, 40 damage, plus 40 more for each energy, and if you deal any damage, take another energy from the discard. But having lost some of the support cards in the past, it just takes too long to get this dude rolling, and we've got better options for fire. Like number 28, Blaziken. Now, Blaziken's a really interesting card, because for 2 energy you do 130, but then you choose up to 2 of your bench Rapid Strike Pokemon and attach an energy, doesn't have to be basic, from your discard pile to them. And because it's a Rapid Strike Pokemon, you've got Rapid Strike energy, so here, you're attacking for 1 energy, and then you can accelerate those Rapid Strike energy. That is pretty gosh darned interesting. In at number 27, we've got Togekiss, and I want it out there as we go through. There is a very good chance that this jumps up into the next tier in the next couple of months, because there are support cards coming out for colorless Pokemon that could break this card, but we're not there yet, so I'm leaving it down here with a note that by the time we get to March, could look very, very low. But 2 energy, 120 damage, search for any 2 cards. It's not getting one-hit KOs, but goodness gracious me, the consistency is nuts. In at number 26, we've got ourselves Ditto, 3 energy, copy any of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks. This is always going to be interesting to me, because you can take advantage of your opponent's Pokemon and go a little bit nuts. In at number 25, we've got Aegislash. Used to be a fun little tech, has dropped off a little bit, but 3 energy, 160 plus 30 more for each prize card you've taken. By the time you get to the end of the game, that's hitting 310. With a tiny bit of help, that's one-hit KOing Pokemon VMAXs. That alone makes it pretty high up on this list. In at number 24, we've got Eevee, and I will always believe that Eevee is a good card worth playing. Because for 3 energy, 150 damage, but the defending Pokemon's got to flip heads just to attack you next turn. And sure, it's flippy and awkward, but I really like this one. In at number 23, who is often the running mate to Eevee, we've got Pikachu VMAX. Because you can discard all energy from it and do 270. And 270 is a lot of damage. Or you can just do 120. And we got ways to get lightning energy out, and I like it. In at number 22, a card I don't like, but one that a whole bunch of other people do, Orbeetle VMAX. Sure, you can punish your opponent for attaching a bunch of energy, but really it's the ability Eerie Beam. If it's active, you put 1 damage counter on each of your opponent's Pokemon once during your turn. So sure, you can switch around to other Orbeetle and drop multiple damage counters. It's just a fun deck that some people enjoy, that I personally don't. In at 21, we've got Glaceon VMAX, and we have really reached the point of the video here where I could imagine any of these cards being part of a proper top tier deck in the future. Glaceon's got the ability Crystal Veil that makes it immune to VMAXs, and the attack is fine, but in a VMAX heavy format there is a lot of potential for Glaceon. Espeon VMAX comes in at number 20, and it's actually quite good for the attack. 3 energy, 60 for each energy attached to all of your opponent's Pokemon. When they attach 4, they're in trouble. But it's also got an ability that prevents all effects of attacks done to any of your Pokemon with energy attached, which makes it really good for the ability. In at 19, we've got Vaporeon, and I don't want to like Vaporeon. But the fact of the matter is, you can cheat water Pokemon into play with extra energy attached, which is good, and you do 100 damage, but 200 to a Pokemon with any damage on it already. And if you bring in Rapid Strike Energy and Elemental Badge, that's a single energy attack that does 200 damage. So if you can get any damage down, frankly, you're going to be hitting big damage for a single energy, and that means it's got to be a top 20 card. In at number 18, we've got ourselves Corviknight, and Corviknight's another one of those that could end up being a proper good card. Because the ability prevents all effects of your abilities, or your opponent's abilities, which is good. Free energy 240 is really nice because it one-hit KOs Pokemon V. And then, of course, being a metal Pokemon, you've got stuff like Metal Saucer to accelerate energy, Bronzong to move it around, and once you've used Bronzong to move it around, you can use Cheryl to heal. You see where we're going with this, ladies and gentlemen. This gets very, very good very, very quickly. There is huge potential here. In at number 17, we've got Colossal. I am not willing to let Colossal die. I know it has massively fallen off in terms of playability, but the 240, as we've seen, is so much better than a lot of the cards lower on the list. And you do a straight 130 if the top card of your deck is an energy, and then you attach that energy, getting you up to doing 240. This is always going to be a card I'm a big fan of. In at number 16, we've got Inteleon, the one that's been out for a while, not the new one, which I'm not putting on the list because it's too early. Free energy, 160 plus 60 to one of your opponent's bench. If this sets up early against an evolving deck, it will absolutely wreck them. In at number 15, we've got Cramorant, and you need to be feeling lucky here, but I adore Cramorant. Free energy, and you flip a coin for each energy on Cramorant, so it's free energy minimum. 80 for each heads. I love this deck. We saw Robin Schultz do well with it in one of the Players' Cups, so we know it's not always reliable, but certainly in terms of fun, it's good. In at number 14, we've got Duraludon, and this is one that I am hyper excited about. Because you prevent all damage done to it by any Pokemon with special energy, you do 220 damage, which is the key number, and you go through any effects on the defending Pokemon, and free energy is not that much. I think this is going to be a very fast, consistent, powerful deck moving forward. And finishing off this tier at number 13, and I feel guilty about this, but I'm not changing it now, we've got Rayquaza. The ability lets you discard your hand and draw 3 cards, which is great. And the attack does 20 damage, and you discard as many basic fire or lightning as you like. No, you can't mix and match. And you deal 80 more for each card you discarded in this way. I still think this has the potential to, in the future, be number 1 on this list, very literally. But the fact of the matter is, at the moment, we've got better draw engines other people are using, and we don't have a good enough way to accelerate the energy. Rayquaza's languishing a bit, but I expect it to be better in the future. Now we move on to the top 12 here with a new tier of definitely awesome. I am 100% convinced that all of the cards here have proven themselves to be top tier cards. So in at number 12, we've got Alchemy. It's here, don't get me wrong, Adornment accelerating a bunch of energy is good, but G-Max Whisk does 60 damage for each energy you discard from all of your Pokemon, and you can discard as many as you like. We've seen this teched into a whole bunch of decks as a closer, and sure, it's generally used once per game as a big closer, but you know what? That's good enough. We saw this win a bunch of games in the Players' Cup, and is going to keep doing so moving forward. In at number 11, we've got Victini. Victini is a 2-energy Pokemon, which immediately gives it a big leg up on a lot of the competition. And for 2 energy, you do 220 to a Pokemon V. It's basically 2 energy, 1-hit KO on any Pokemon V. That is great, and it is going to continue being a top tier card for some time. In at number 10, we've got Leafeon, and I owe an apology to a whole bunch of people here, including the lovely Antoine Boulet, because for a long time I wasn't taking Leafeon seriously, and now I'm telling you it's a top 10 VMAX of all the ones we've seen. But the fact of the matter is, 2 energy to do 60 damage for each colourless energy in your opponent's active Pokemon's retreat cost. It's proven to be a very powerful card. It's got a really good Pokemon V that accelerates energy, and sure, it ends your turn, but early doors, that's fine. And the fact of the matter is, if you look at online results lately, Leafeon is everywhere. It is proving it. Speaking of which, in at number 9, we've got Sylveon for a very similar reason. 3 colourless energy, 70 damage, plus 30 more for each different type of Pokemon on your bench. Colourless energy, you mix and match a whole bunch of Pokemon, you 1-hit KO Pokemon Vs. I love Sylveon VMAX. I think it is a phenomenal card, and it's proving to be good. But in at number 8, we've got another Eevee VMAX. It is Jolteon VMAX, and this is another one that's proven itself. 2 energy, 100 plus 100 to any of your opponent's bench Pokemon with damage counters on. But again, Elemental Badge actually means single basic energy, 100 to the active, 100 to one of the bench. When you build in the free retreat as well, Jolteon VMAX is absolutely nuts. In at number 7, we've got Ice Rider Calyrex V Max. 2 energy, if you discard them both you do 250. And we've got a bunch of ways to accelerate water energy at the moment, and it's 2 energy, 250 damage. And you don't have to do that. If you've got a full bench, Rider the High King does 130 for 2 energy and you don't discard them, Ice Rider Calyrex VMAX is just a really good, really efficient card. In at number 6, we've got Dragapult, and Dragapult's a weird one, because when Rebel Clash came out, it would have been number 1, or should have been at least, but then it dropped off super quickly, and then it came back. 2 energy, 130, place 5 damage counters on your opponent's bench in any way you like, low energy, hits a good weakness, and you're taking multiple KOs. Dragapult went away for a little while, but it's come back with a vengeance. And in at number 5, we've got Single Strike Urshifu. And if you want to move the last couple into the top tier, I wouldn't be upset. 5 or 6 could easily be in the next tier, but I've left them in here and I feel okay. 4 energy, 270, discard all energy, but it goes through anything. And I know all the way through I've been saying that 4 energy is too expensive, but the difference with this is you've got Houndoom to accelerate Single Strike Energy, and Single Strike Energy does an extra 20 damage, and you've got a combination of actually consistent 4 energy attack, and one of the rare Pokemon VMAXs that can actually one-hit KO other VMAXs, and it is definitely a top 5 card. I don't know, you could put Dragapult in the top 5 and drop this to number 6, but it's definitely a top 6 card. And the final tier here I've called could be number 1. I think any of these Pokemon could be number 1. But then again, Dragapult and Single Strike Urshifu, I wouldn't be upset if you put number 1 either. In at number 4, we've got Eternatus. Eternatus, since it came out, has just kept winning over and over again. The ability lets you have 8 bench Pokemon, and that opens up so many options. And for 2 energy, you do 30 damage for each of your Darkness Pokemon in play. Full bench, 270. It's got a higher damage cap than most of the Pokemon on this list. And it's got a lower energy cost than most of the Pokemon on this list. And sure, you can tech against it and hate hard on it if you want to, but it's won so many tournaments ever since it came out that I would not feel comfortable not putting it in this tier. In at number 3, we've got Rapid Strike Urshifu. And this is another flat-out phenomenal card. Again, at this stage, we are really picking hairs to sort the order. Like I said at the beginning of the video, don't worry too much about the difference between 1 or 2 spaces. It's so difficult to try and order them all, but I do feel confident that this is better than at least 60 of the others on this list. Now, single energy 150 if you became active this turn is clearly great. And then free energy, discard it all to do 120 to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon, is also clearly great. Single prize decks at the moment are borderline unplayable because they are all wrecked by Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX, plus you hit a pretty good weakness. In at number 2, you've got Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX, and I was so close to putting this number 1. This has the phenomenal combo of an amazing ability, lets you attach your Psychic Energy to a bench Pokemon and draw 2 cards, as well as an attack that does 10 damage plus 30 more free Psychic Energy attached to all of your Pokemon. Incidentally, this is generally the deck where Alchemy acts as a closer because of that Underworld Door ability. And you've got a draw engine plus energy acceleration plus potential huge damage, and it's been winning left, right and centre. It is clearly a ridiculous card. But in at number 1, I'm going Umbreon. And if you want to disagree with this, I'm not going to be too upset with you. It could be Shadow Rider Calyrex, it could be Rapid Strike Urshifu, it could be Eternatus, Single Strike Urshifu, or Dragapult. I think any of the others putting at number 1 would be silly. but I do think this is number one, and I do feel good about my decision. Sure, the attack free energy 160 isn't stunning, though it does hit a very good weakness and get a one-hit KO on all those darkness weak ones, and there are many of them around. But it's really the ability. When you evolve into it, it's gusting. And I could go right back to the Diamond and Pearl era and tell you about how Steven Silvestro won the World Championships with Beedrill, but teched in Luxray GL level X. And Luxray had the same ability, but you had to be in the active to level X it. The fact of the matter is, gusting is too good. And you've already seen a huge amount of Umbreon being played all over the place, and you are going to keep seeing it played everywhere. You are going to see decks that have no real reason to play Umbreon as a Darkness Pokemon or as a single strike Pokemon, who are playing it just for this gusting ability, and for that reason I feel good putting it at number 1. Sure, we got to add in the ones from Fusion Strike in a little bit, and sure, there are ones like Togekiss that look like they're going to get way better in the future, but I'm making the list right now, so I feel good about this list. Is it perfect? No! And I'm willing to bet there are none of you out there that agree with this list 100%, and that's all good. All I ask is that in the comment section, if you raise a Pokemon up, you got to drop some down, and if you drop some down, you got to raise some up. And if I did forget one, do let me know in the comment section. I tried so hard to get them all. Fingers crossed I didn't miss them. Go nuts in the comment section. Tell me what you think. And if you're feeling really brave, make your own list from 1 to 66. Go nuts. Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.